Brianna Lewis had always believed in love. At 29, she had built a life in Chicago she was proud of, steady job in marketing, close friends, and a fiancé who seemed destined for success. Devon Carter was charming, funny, and charismatic. His podcast, Unfiltered with Dev, had over 500,000 listeners, and brands lined up to sponsor him. He called himself a truth teller. She called him the one. The rooftop glowed under string lights as 50 guests laughed, drank, and recorded everything on their phones. Brianna wore a deep emerald dress, her hair curled softly, her heart buzzing with happiness. Devon took the mic. "Everyone, I just want to say, Brianna's the love of my life." The crowd cheered. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a ring, dropped to one knee. Brianna gasped. Tears welled. Then he laughed. Loud. "Oh my God, y'all should have seen your face," he shouted. "Relax, it's a prank. This is for the pod." Silence slammed into the party. Someone laughed nervously. Brianna stood frozen, face burning, hands shaking. Devon added, "Come on, babe. Don't be so sensitive. This is content." That night, she slept on the couch while clips of her humiliation went viral. Days later, Brianna accidentally saw a message pop up on Devon's phone. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Mwah. K. Kira." His co-host. The woman who always smirked at Brianna during recordings. The woman Devon swore was just business. Her hands shook as she scrolled. Hotel receipts. Voice notes. A pregnancy scare joke. It was real. And it broke her. But Brianna didn't cry. She planned, she waited a week. Then she sat him down, eyes red, voice trembling. "I went to the doctor," she whispered. "They found something aggressive. I don't have much time." Devon went pale. "What? No, that's not funny. I wish it was." He collapsed into guilt instantly. He quit the podcast to support her. Ended things with Kira. Posted teary apology videos. Started fundraisers for Brianna's treatment. His audience worshipped him again. Behind the scenes, Brianna recorded everything. Every confession. Every admission of cheating. Every lie he told publicly. 3 months later, Brianna hosted a farewell celebration. Friends. Family. Fans. Even sponsors. Devon held her hand like a saint. Then Brianna stood up. "I want to thank everyone for coming," she said softly. "And before I go, I want to share something." The screen behind her lit up. Audio clips played. Devon's voice admitting the affair. Laughing about humiliating her. Admitting the prank was for views. Gasps filled the room. Then she smiled. "Oh, and one more thing." She took a sip of champagne. "I'm not dying." Silence. Devon collapsed into a chair. "I'm healthy. I'm free. And this was the last performance you'll ever profit from." Security escorted him out as phones recorded everything within days. Sponsors dropped him. His podcast rankings crashed. Kira released her own receipts. Devon disappeared from public life. Brianna went to therapy. She healed. She got promoted to creative director. She bought a cozy home outside the city. And one afternoon, at a bookstore cafe, she met Dr. Lucas Hayes, kind, steady, patient. He never filmed her. Never mocked her. And when he proposed a year later, it was quiet. Private. Real. Brianna stood in her backyard, fireflies glowing, engagement ring warm on her hand. Love, she learned, wasn't loud. It didn't humiliate you for applause. It chose you, every day. And this time. She chose herself first. Months passed since the farewell party. Chicago had quieted down. Devon's podcast was gone, his sponsors vanished, and Kira's own reputation had crumbled under the weight of her involvement. Brianna's name, by contrast, became associated with resilience, cleverness, and integrity. She started her mornings with meditation and journaling, sipping coffee on the porch of her new suburban home. The twins she'd always dreamed of having weren't here yet, but she felt whole for the first time in years. Work had shifted from frantic marketing deadlines to meaningful projects that showcased her skills. She implemented campaigns for companies that promoted transparency, honesty, and ethics, themes she now championed in her own life. Therapy helped. Brianna unpacked the betrayal, processed the humiliation, and learned to trust again, slowly, cautiously, but fully. She realized she didn't need validation from anyone who had tried to use her for content or ego boosts. She rekindled old friendships, finding joy in people who didn't compete with her, didn't manipulate her. Saturday brunches, book clubs, and weekend hikes became her rhythm. Her freedom to IT was at a quiet cafe that she met Lucas Hayes. He was gentle, unassuming, and treated her with a kind of respect she had never demanded but always deserved. He never asked for social media posts. He never laughed at her ambitions. He listened. He understood. One crisp fall evening, he proposed in the same cafe where they met. Not a grand spectacle, no audience, no cameras, just them. Brianna smiled, tears in her eyes. This was love without manipulation. Love without pretense. Love she could trust. Her life wasn't perfect. The memory of Devon's betrayal lingered like a shadow, but it no longer controlled her. She had power over her story, her narrative, and her happiness. She bought a small suburban home with a garden, adopted a golden retriever, and focused on building a life defined not by humiliation or manipulation, but by choice, independence, and true love. She still occasionally glanced at Chicago's skyline and smiled. She had survived a cruel public prank, exposed deceit, and walked away stronger. Brianna's lesson: life doesn't need to humiliate you to teach you lessons. Sometimes, your greatest triumph is reclaiming your own story, and living it beautifully. Brianna raised her glass to the sunset. Here's to honesty, courage, and the love we finally deserve. Brianna Lewis sat on the porch of her new suburban home, the soft glow of string lights reflecting off the freshly painted siding. The air smelled of autumn leaves and warm coffee. For the first time in years, she felt completely at peace. Devon Carter's betrayal, the public humiliation, and the podcast crash were all behind her. She had survived his manipulations, exposed his lies, and reclaimed her life. Therapy, friends, and her own resilience had rebuilt her stronger than ever. Lucas Hayes, the kind and patient doctor she had met months ago, held her hand as they planned their future together. There would be no pranks, no cameras, no schemes, just honesty, respect, and love. Brianna smiled as she watched her dog chase fallen leaves across the yard. She had learned that true power wasn't in revenge alone, it was in reclaiming her story, her happiness, and her future. She lifted her glass toward the evening sky. Here's to honesty, courage, and the life we deserve. And for Brianna, this was only the beginning.